As we all know, when progressives gather to trash conservatives, there are several tropes that will be wheeled out. They will, of course, remind one another Republicans are racist. That's a given. They'll talk about how we are all mindless shills for our corporate masters, and about how we are all greedy warmongers eager to rape the world of its treasures, leaving poor brown people to choke in the toxic air and water we leave behind. You know the drill. It hasn't changed by so much as a comma in 50 years. But the one that they really like to land on is the one about how we are trying to strip away the social safety net. I have yet to meet a Republican who wants to dismantle the welfare system entirely. But neither have I met one who thinks that the way we are now doing it is sustainable. More importantly, the way we do it now is simply bad for the people we are supposedly trying to help. Which government programs are we talking about when we use the umbrella term social safety net? The big two are Social Security and Medicare. After that, we have a bunch more: SNAP, CHIP, Medicaid, TANF, and General Relief, etc. The programs that we pay into with payroll taxes are not welfare, and the rest are. Let's start by mentioning a basic disagreement that we conservative types have with the liberal types. We believe that, given the choice, a very large percentage of the population would rather be paid to relax than get out of bed at 6 and spend the next 10 hours earning their keep. I don't have to look any farther than the mirror for proof of this. As hardworking as I am, I would rather not slog to work every morning. I do so for two reasons. I need food and shelter, and I was raised not to accept charity unless I legitimately need it. Liberals always argue that the people who need assistance had nothing to do with the situation they are in. And in many cases, as every conservative will readily admit, they're quite correct. But in many other cases, aid recipients are not only responsible for the state of their lives, but have intentionally created the situation that will allow them to live off payments from the state. In the early years of my battle with alcohol, I tried to catch an AA meeting every day. We had young kids at the time, and my then wife made it clear that she needed me to be home in the evenings. So I went to an AA meeting every day on my lunch break. These were at AA facilities called Alano clubs that were open all day, every day. Sunrise meetings, noon meetings, and evening meetings. Let me tell you this. The kind of people who frequent the noon meetings are a different sort from those you see at night after working hours. Most of these noon meetings were 25 or 30 strong, and always over half the group was out of work. Usually they had a scam of some kind going. You see, AA has helped to support the notion that alcoholism is a disease. This sets people on the path to collecting disability or some other handout. These Alano clubs, in addition to providing a legitimate service to those struggling with the bottle, are also a lively clearinghouse of information about how to get onto government programs. The disease model allows a moral loophole. If you are sick, you can't be expected to work. This destigmatizing of weakness is everywhere across the social services network. Now, I don't want to be accusatory toward the well-meaning liberals who lead with their bleeding hearts on this issue. But there is one political party that benefits from the greatest number of people relying on government subsidies. And that party sure ain't the Republicans. If you are getting a little something-something from Daddy G, you won't vote for the guys you've been told want to kick your ass off the dole. Now, will you? Let's look at the simple math. In order to properly care for the many fine human beings who, through no fault of their own, need to take advantage of the social safety net, everybody else needs to be paying in. It doesn't take a genius to understand that for every able-bodied person allowed to run a game on the welfare system, there is one fewer person paying in and one extra person collecting. If you have 10 kids and you let 3 of them coast while the other 7 do all the chores, what do you think happens? I'll tell you, but first a quick story. I once had a friend named Brian. Brian was a quadriplegic, no use whatsoever of his limbs. He required full-time care. Now, Brian had somehow, with the help of his caregivers, created a folk music radio show. He was syndicated here and there around the country on random public stations. He made no money, but he made a lot of friends. We did fundraisers for him on several occasions when the wolf was at the door. Brian had been crippled by a bad batch of Dr. Salk's vaccine in the 50s and had spent his childhood in an iron lung. I thank the better angels of our nation that there was money available for Brian's care then, as there is for my friend Nikki, who currently lives in the same situation. I don't begrudge them the support they get through government. Show me any conservative who does. But I do begrudge the money sucked from that pool by people who are just lazy and stubborn and know how to cobble together enough county, state, and federal benefits to keep a roof over their heads and food in their bellies. Again, they cost us twice. They deny us their share of the money we need to care for those in legitimate need, and they pick the pockets of the needy by absorbing benefits meant for others. You never hear a Democrat say what I just said, do you? No. All that you hear them say is that Republicans want to push the wheelchair down the stairs and see to it that Granny expires in the hallway of a dilapidated, underfunded hospital. Republicans are pissed off at the welfare state for the reason I just laid out, but they're also pissed off because Democrats actively encourage these welfare abuses. In multiple ways, with massive advertising campaigns, they encourage people to tap into the programs. They downplay the number of scammers. They do everything possible to remove any stigma related to accepting charity. And they fight us tooth and nail on any move to include moral training in their beloved government schools. Their current deep dive into full-blown victim coddling whenever they can piece together a plausible excuse for a person to fail proves that they are bound and determined to expand the welfare state. So what would happen if you allowed 3 of your 10 kids to skate while the others took up their slack? Here's what would happen. Your producing kids would gradually come to deeply resent your lazy kids. Your lazy kids would develop rationales to justify their sloth, and rather than being grateful, would also resent the 7 kids doing all the work. All of them would come to know that their parents were not wise. As for societal impact, after you pass on, you'd have left 3 people behind who would never be properly productive, and you'd have left 7 behind who would have been so burned by false compassion that they'd have trouble conjuring genuine compassion when it was truly warranted. The more we load up our lives with fakers and freeloaders, the harder it becomes for us to empathize with those in real trouble. Those on the left like to compare the social safety net to a trampoline. They tell stories of the single mom who collected welfare and accepted job training and went on to be productive. She hit the net and bounced into a better life. Are these stories true? Of course. I personally know several people who trampolined out of the safety net into good-paying careers and responsible lives. One of them was a destitute teenage mother who became a school teacher. So, yes, that can happen. Republicans tend to focus on the image of the safety net that becomes a hammock. We conservatives are, by nature, unimpressed by the innate character of humans. We're highly skeptical of claims like, nobody wants to collect welfare when they could work. We know that not to be true. Sometimes we can be a little bit harsh, a little bit demanding, but we believe that harsh and demanding creates people who are tough and resilient, while unconditional compassion often leads to long-term dependency and chronic poverty. In other words, we believe that the road to compassion is lined with accountability. There are good people on both sides of this issue. And in my view, the solution is simple. We need for the Democrats to stop with the encouragement of victim thinking. We need for them to stop sabotaging people with the idea that Republicans hate them and want the worst for them and will only exploit them in the name of greed should they reach for their American dream. The shouting war over the social safety net is unnecessary and stupid because we agree on the real issue. We agree that the truly needy ought to be cared for and made ready for the day they no longer need care. Stop lying about us, and we will be the first to sign on to help programs that are there to actually help and are not serving the covert function of voter recruitment. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and then click the little bell to get notifications.